Today is a warm sunny day with few clouds in the sky. So it's a very good day for the monks to do their business. Today they're washing their robes. And you'll see the robes of the monks are this browny yellow colour. That comes from the dye that they use to both dye and wash their robes. It's a natural dye that comes from the jackfruit tree, the heartwood of that tree. They cut up, boil and dye their robes, and it also acts as a cleaning agent. This is a very simple, natural way that monks have used to dye and wash their robes since the time of the Buddha. And it means they can live very simply out in the forest, don't have to bother people to get other kind of soap powders and detergents. Just use these natural things. And you'll see the monks always wear the same colour robes, the same set of robes. A monk only has one set of robes, 3 robes. Is sabong, which is like an inner robe, a bit like a skirt. Then there's the underrobe, which we call the chiwara, which is the robe you see us wearing now. And then there's an outer robe, a thicker one, a cloak-like robe, the sangati, which uses when he goes out on alms round or out into the village and for protection against the cold. These robes only has one set of 3 robes, and that set might last for at least 3 years, and that's even wearing all the time, every day. So you can see it's a very simple way to live, very frugal. Doesn't need to bother anybody to get new clothes very often. Those robes might last for anything from 3 to 7 years, so can live very simply for a long time like that. Don't need to bother people asking them for more cloth and more robes. And it's the duty of the monks to always reflect on the purpose why they wear their clothes, these robes. Really, they're not for just looking good or for fashion. They're for the purpose of protection against the elements, heat and cold, against insects, and also just to look appropriate in society. We have to dress ourselves for modesty's sake. This way of dressing by monks is never really out of date. The colour hasn't changed since the time of the Buddha, and it's still appropriate today. It's a very natural, very simple colour. And the way the monks dress, they have to wear their robes in a certain way, make sure they're neat and tidy and evenly tied on and rolled all round. That's never out of date. That's been fixed since the time of the Buddha, and monks just learn to wear their robes in that way, so they don't have to think about it a lot or fuss much about it. There's just one way you wear your robes. And this is an example of one of the sets of rules that monks, candidates for ordination as a monk, have to take on when they join the Sangha, the community of monks. And they have to train with many rules, such as how to wear their robes, dye and wash their robes. We say this is the way of the Arya Wong, meaning the circle of noble ones, or the previous generations of noble ones. This is how they practiced. And it literally means one practicing in a way where one is learning to be content with little, to have few wishes, few desires. And this might not be what most of us are used to, hearing or talking about. Most of us don't live in a way where we're not following our desires. Most of us are following our desires and trying to follow them all the time, trying to do what we want all the time. But for a monk, Buddhist monk, practicing sincerely in the Dhamma Vinaya, the teaching of the Buddha, then they have to go against desire sometimes and do things in a more simple, more contented way. It's the same with food. When we come to practice Dhamma, food is something we have to contemplate, the way we eat food. You'll see the monks eat just one main meal a day, in one dish, one bowl, putting everything in there together. And they eat before midday. That's the end of it. After midday they don't eat again in the evening. So again, it leads to a very simple, easy, straightforward lifestyle. When you first come in contact with this, you might worry. If you were to do this, you might worry, oh, will I get enough food? Will I have enough to eat? Will I get hungry? Will my health be okay? But all of these worries soon pass when you practice. You see that you can live in this way quite healthily and quite without a lot of trouble or difficulty. Our bodies as human beings, they can adjust very well to different conditions. As we know, we're already used to dealing with different weather conditions. We know how to be in the rain sometimes, in the sun, in the cold. Even though these different weather conditions can give us uncomfortable feelings, we're all able to endure them, and there's no one who can't do that. It's just the same with eating once a day. Of course, you might feel a bit hungry before your next meal. The next morning, just before your meal, you probably feel quite hungry if you haven't eaten for a whole day and a night. But that feeling just passes very quickly as you eat, and then you get full up again. So even that feeling of hunger you can bear with and deal with very easily. And if you look at the monks, they're just the same as anybody else, the same height, the same kind of weight, and they look the same. It's not that the monks eating one meal a day in the morning suddenly become skinny or waste away or look kind of inferior as human beings. They look just the same. So these are just a few examples of how the Buddha encouraged us to live in peaceful, quiet and simple ways in this world. Particularly monks who live in this way, they have to learn how to adjust to be able to live in a simple way like this. But lay people also have to learn these things, how the principles of living in a way that is simple and being content. If they want to practice the Dhamma, then they have to learn how to do this from their own experience. And when one comes to do this, one might in the beginning feel a bit unfamiliar, following a more simple lifestyle. One might feel unfamiliar, might be a bit worried or uncomfortable. This is because we have attachments. We have different attachments and habits that we cling on to. So in the beginning of Dhamma practice, to deal with these attachments and habits, we have to use patience and endurance, because we're going against often habits, deeply ingrained attachments and habits. Last week I went to visit Central Australia. They took me out into the desert areas, Alice Springs, Ayers Rock. And there I saw the trees and the bush there, and the animals. One of the local people said it hasn't rained there in certain parts for 3 years. But you can see the trees and the bushes there, they can still endure. They don't die, even though they don't have rain for several years. They even look quite normal. And this is because quite naturally they've learned how to adjust to different conditions. And the Buddha said that we have to learn how to adjust ourselves in just the same way. We have to learn how to adjust our bodies and our minds to the external conditions, say the weather, and also to the different conditions that our society brings to us. And the way we do this is formally by using the Dhamma, the quality or the virtue of Khanti, which means patience, endurance. And when you see someone using patience and endurance in their life, then it makes everything they do very beautiful, very pleasing to see. And if you have a whole society or group of people practicing with Khanti, then that society will have strength and there'll be harmony between the people, the members of it. If they use patience to solve their problems, to relate to each other, then that society will be very peaceful, very strong. And the Buddha said this is the very foundation of any kind of community, is that we need patience and endurance. Today, when we come to offer food in the temple here today, we've come many people together from different areas, and to do this we've come to make offerings to further our practice, to make wholesome good karma or make merit, to do something that is useful. It's also a chance for us to meet together, maybe meet together with our family, our friends, and we can check that everybody is okay. We can ask, are you well? Are you okay? But when monks meet together in these sort of occasions, they don't answer, oh yes, I'm fine, I'm okay, or I'm well. The traditional way a monk might answer is, things are good enough to endure with or to bear with. And this is because they speak in line with truth. Because if you think about it, our bodies are always changing. They're always aging, degenerating, having problems, illness and so on. Our bodies are always giving us dukkha, stress and suffering and pain. It's what we call nitta dukkha. Stress and the pain that comes all the time, regularly, that we have every day. At the very least, we all have to have the pain, the discomfort that comes with excretion, urination, or from hunger. This is all different kinds of dukkha. Dukkha literally means that which is difficult to bear with. So different conditions and things we meet with in life that are difficult to bear with, we call this is dukkha, this is stress. So when we say to each other, oh, I'm well, I'm doing well, or I'm okay, what it really means is that we are able to bear with the different kinds of suffering that we are experiencing, because nobody is completely free from suffering. When we live in society, we depend on other people and must learn how to help each other for our practice. Yesterday I was in the forest over in the national park looking at the trees, and you can see in the national park there's many kinds of trees in the forest, different kinds, different sizes. Some are tall, some are thin, some are fat, some are crooked, some are straight. But what you can learn from the trees in the forest is that they actually all support each other and help each other. For instance, in storms, you can see when the strong winds come, the trees, each tree together helps to break the strength of the wind. So you can say even big trees, tall trees, survive because they depend on the smaller trees to help break the wind so that they don't snap. So you can see in a forest, all the trees, they help together to support each other and survive longer and better. And this is a good comparison in society. So in society, the very basis of society is the family group, mothers, fathers, children. And to live in a group, we have to use virtuous behavior. We have to live in a skillful way. And we have to use various qualities to support each other. We have to use satya, which is like truthfulness, honesty. We have to use sila, or restraint, morality. We have to use khanti, patience, endurance. And jhaka, we have to have generosity and know how to give up and help each other. With these four qualities, then that family group can be harmonious with very little stress or no stress. And each member of the family can be mutually supportive, just like the trees in the forest, even though the family members might be different in their own characters, their own appearance and so on, but they can all support each other. For monks, we don't have family, we've left the family life, but we do have sangha. Sangha is the word they use for a group of monks. Any group of monks, usually it means 4 monks upwards, living together, acting together. And Sangha literally means community. It doesn't mean like 4 individuals all going their separate ways, doing their things in their own way. It means a group of 4 people helping together, living in the same way, following same standards of behaviour. When you have a sangha of monks, then they are mutually supportive. They help each other, and through this they give each other strength, and so that the whole group, the whole sangha can survive and practice very well. A comparison you can make is, say, with animals in the forest or the wild. you can see that groups of animals in the wild tend to do better than individual single animals living on their own. Because when animals live in a group, then they can protect each other, warn each other of danger, and they'll tend to survive longer and better. Again, last week I saw groups, large herds of camels out in the desert, and they all move together and help each other. They help each other in many different ways, so the whole group survives very well. One of the different customs that the monks have to help each other live together in harmony and wisely is what we call pawarana. This word pawarana, it refers particularly to a ceremony they do at the end of the 3 months was time, the 3 months rains retreat. And pawarana literally means the ceremony of mutual admonition. What this means is that each monk in the community, however many there are, he offers himself to the others for admonition, opens himself up to receive, you could say, feedback from the other members of the community, and with an attitude of seeking forgiveness for any mistakes or inappropriate behavior. This custom, the Buddha said, is very important when groups of people live together, because they have to sometimes openly show or display this sense of giving an opportunity for others who they live with to speak out and discuss, each member of the community discussing how they live together for the success and the peace of that group. We have to open up to let others tell us if anything inappropriate has been said or done, or if anything not in line with the Buddhist teachings, the Dhamma Vinaya, has been said or done. We open up, and then others may tell us out of kindness so that we can learn. The only way we can grow is if we can see, acknowledge and admit our faults. And we have to sometimes accept that we're not always perfectly mindful. Sometimes we forget ourselves. Sometimes other people we live with in the group will see this. They'll know this. So for the harmony and strength of the group, we might have to help each other by pointing things out sometimes. So this ceremony, this develops trust between people, the members of the community. It's done in a formal way, so one is formally opening up for admonition, and it's done in a controlled way. So it's very supportive, and it's conducive to mutual trust, warmth, friendliness between the members of the group, so that nothing is left undone or suppressed, and there's no negativity hiding in people's minds. We can even do this in the family with our parents. Say, for instance, we can open ourselves up to admonition from our parents so that they can speak on things if they've seen that are inappropriate in our behaviours. If we can do that, then we could admit our faults, our weaknesses, then we will grow and learn from this. If families can learn to live in this way, take the example of the Sangha and learn to have a sense of openness with each other, being able to frankly speak on certain occasions about these things, then the result is what we call metta, kindness between people. And you could say this is Arya Maitreya. It's like the kindness of true nobility, true civilized people. This word Arya Maitreya actually is the word they have from the suttas. It's the word for the fifth Buddha in the current group of 5 Buddhas, or the next Buddha to come after this current Buddha that we have been living in the time of this current Buddha, Gautama. There was Kakusanto, Gonagamano, Kasapo, Gautama the Buddha, our current Buddha, and then there'll be a 5th Buddha, Arya Maitreya Buddha. And they say the quality, the defining or leading quality of the next Buddha, the Maitreya Buddha, will be compassion and kindness. Very compassionate and able to spread that in society. And it's just from these kind of qualities, like the ability to be open to others, to give forgiveness, to seek forgiveness from wrongdoing, that leads to this kind of compassion and kindness in society. All of these qualities, virtues I've been talking about today, they all come from the teachings of the Buddha. And the Buddha was very wise. He taught us how to live in society for the benefit of ourselves and for all other people. And if we can put these into practice, develop these kind of qualities and virtues, then our society and our individual lives will be successful. We have to know how to give and give up, how to share what we have with others, both materially and on the mental level. So in conclusion, today is a public holiday. Everybody has a day off, so it's a good time to come to the monastery today to listen to the teachings. We call this Anzac Day when we remember all the dead who have fought in different battles for the country, but really we've all had battles, our own inner battles, the enemies being our own internal kilesas or mental defilements. So we can remember that today, all our internal battles. I'll say that much for the moment. Today I've been speaking to you about the Buddhist teachings, just exchanging some views and some of my experience in the practice of the Buddhist teachings. All of these teachings are aiming for peace and harmony in the minds of individuals and in the community as a whole. And the Buddha gave a teaching once, Sukhasa Samaki, that if we emphasize harmony in our society, in our family, in our sangha, in our society as a whole, then that society or group will be successful, peaceful, and free from danger. But to develop and maintain harmony in any group of people, in a family or society, that we must use effort and energy. It doesn't come easily. So Buddha also gave the teaching Viriyena Dukkha Macedi, meaning that dukkha or suffering, stress is overcome through persistent effort. And the Buddha emphasized that when we come together in the practice, say at times like this, when we come together to support monasteries, listen to the Dhamma, these are very good occasions, a very good sign if people are in harmony like this. One particular occasion I remember that displayed this very well was the Katina ceremony after the rains retreat one year at my monastery in Ubon province, northeast Thailand. That year we had what we call a Jula Katina ceremony, which involved many different groups of people coming together to support the Katina ceremony. Government departments, farmers, the monks themselves, many different individuals from that province and indeed from other nearby provinces, all came together to offer their support for the ceremony as an expression of harmony and showing how important the Buddhist teachings are, showing their respect for the Buddha and the teachings and the tradition. And what we call a Jula Katina is special in the sense that it involves not just offering cloth for making monks' robes, but it involves actually planting the cotton to make the cloth from the beginning with the intention that this will be offered to make robes for monks. So that year that ceremony actually began on about the 17th of June with the planting of cotton in different areas around the provinces. And then through the rainy season for the next few months, people looked after it, farmers and the government officials looked after that cotton until it was ready for harvest. Then it was collected up, harvested, and brought to the monastery just a few days before the Katina. And the Katina at Wat Bapong is usually held on the last full moon day of the Katina season, so it's usually late October or November even. And for 2 days before the Katina, that cloth, the cotton was spun and woven into cloth, quite a coarse cloth in the traditional way. And that obviously took many more people weaving together to get enough cotton to spun into actual cloth. And then, as you know, on the day of the Katina, the Sangha received that cloth from the laity, and immediately within 1 day, on the very day of the Katina, it's their duty to all help to cut the cloth into the appropriate pattern, sew it, dye it, and present it to a member of the community within that 1 day. It has to be cut, sewn and dyed in the proper way. And the whole event, from the beginning of planting the cotton right through to the offering of the finished cloth, was a very enjoyable occasion. Many people were involved, both monks and laity, and it brought much harmony, which is one of the purposes of that ceremony, is to bring people together, to encourage them to work together, set aside their differences, their own issues, but to set them aside and work together for a very good cause and out of respect for the Buddhist teachings. The cloth, or the robe that was sewn from the cloth, was quite coarse because it was done in an old-fashioned way, but very strong, and it did the job as far as the Buddha's guidelines for monks' robes, which are just to protect the monk from cold, heat, insects, and so on. And it was perhaps more important was the bringing of people together to sew that cloth, plant it, sew it, harvest it, sew it. And, you know, when people work together, whether they're related or not, they're acting like their relatives. They act together in some event, some ceremony, something, they participate. Then they become like relatives, and that's a sense of, kindness, compassion between people that arises from harmony. All of this came through the experience of the Buddhist teachings, which are constantly guiding us, advising us on how to do this, how to live in this skillful way. And if we can do this, learn to be harmonious in our groups, our societies, our monasteries, then we have something that we can give to society as a whole, something we can pass on to the younger generation as an example, and even future generations. We can show them how harmonious societies live together and the benefits of that. And that comes through both the Sangha and the laity acting in harmony and out of respect, faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. These are like our treasures. As human beings, we have these treasures, or our guiding lights in our life. And if we follow them, respect them, hold to them, then they will keep ourselves and our societies free from blindness, wrong views, and suffering. If individuals are to be true human beings, truly human, as we say, manusa, then they have to develop these kind of qualities. Because a human being isn't just something you look at on the outside. You say someone's a human, they have the body of a human being. Really, a human is somebody with a mind that is developed and mature spiritually. It separates them, say, from animals. That maturity comes through these kind of virtuous qualities that we develop, understanding what is really good and bad, or right and wrong in life. This is the aim of the Buddhist teachings. So today I don't have much to offer you other than just helping to support you in your practice, just giving you some teachings, advice according to my duty here as a senior teacher. And I give you my anumodana, I express my appreciation to you all for being so patient with the language. Many of you don't speak my language, but you've listened very well, very patiently, so I wish you all well.